In today's video, it sounds like an easy one, and it should be. How to remove the rear wheel on your mountain bike and replace the tyre. The tyre on this bike's bald and needs to be changed, so today we're going to go through the steps on how to do that. To change the rear tyre on your mountain bike, you're going to need a set of tyre levers, a tyre pressure gauge, a small flat blade screwdriver, and a pump to pump up the inner tube for the tyre. More often than not, you won't have a bike stand to put your bike up onto to work on it. In this case, it's easier to just flip the bike over and work on it with it upside down. There's a couple of things to be careful of when you're doing this, and that is the selector levers and brake levers on the front on the handlebars. They can easily be scratched and bent, and they're not cheap to replace. So make sure that when you're flipping the bike over, you have a soft surface to rest the handlebars on. This can either be like a grassy area, or in this case, I've just got a foam mat on the floor where I'm going to rest the handlebars on. Next, to make it a lot easier to remove the rear wheel, we're going to select the smallest sprocket on the rear and the front of the bike. This gives the chain a lot more slack and makes it easier to remove the rear wheel. Just use the brakes to stop the wheel, and that's the safest way to do it so you don't get your hand caught in the disc or anything that's moving around. Next up, because this is a quick release wheel, we need to release the tension on the rear axle. To do that, I just flip this lever up and it's loose. Next up, pivot the derailleur back and lift the rear wheel out of the frame. Next, place the wheel on a flat workspace to make it easier to work on. Locate the tyre valve and remove the dust cap. Using a small flat blade screwdriver, push down on the Schroeder valve inside the valve stem to release any air pressure from the inner tube. Next, push both sides of the tyre towards the centre of the rim to loosen the bead against the rim sidewall. Engage your first tyre lever anywhere around the rim except for near the valve stem. If you do this, it can cause damage to the stem and you might need to replace the tube. Lift the bead of the tyre up over the outside of the rim and grab your second tyre lever and insert it a couple of inches away from the first one and repeat the process. Remove the first tyre lever and move it 2 inches away from the next one and keep going. Once enough of the tyre is released from the rim, you can slowly drag the tyre lever around the tyre to completely release the tyre from the rim. Remove the second bead from the rim using tyre levers as necessary. If you have a flat or a slow leak, it always pays to inspect the components to make sure that you find the cause, so you don't have any issues in the future. The components in this case are the rim, the tyre and the tube. If you're reusing the tyre, I won't be in this video, but if you are reusing the tyre, it pays to check the inside of the tyre to make sure that there's no sharp objects or anything sticking out from inside the tyre that could cause a puncture. On the rim also, sometimes the spoke ends can come through the rubber stripping on the inside of the rim. This can cause punctures and also slow leaks if it's just protruding through. As far as inspecting the tube, the best way to go is to inflate it to twice its normal size, and this will make it easier to find pinhole leaks and any smaller leaks. Another thing that works well is to submerge the tyre tube in a bucket of water, and any small leaks will show in the form of small bubbles coming to the surface. And that way you can identify where the leak is coming from. This is a comparison of the old tyre and the new one. As you can see, the old tyre is bowled and has no tread left on it. It's now time to fit the new tyre to the rim. Keep an eye out for direction of rotation stamped on the tyre with an arrow, and make sure to align it with the rim accordingly. Next, insert the valve into the tyre rim. Make sure to keep the valve stem straight, otherwise the stem could be cut if it's on an angle. Work one bead at a time onto the rim. After you've seated one bead onto the rim, continue with the other side, pushing the tyre up and into the rim until it's completely seated all the way around. Once you have it on, make sure to inspect the rim to make sure that the bead is seated evenly all the way around and that no parts of the tube are sticking out between the rim and the tyre. Also ensure that the valve stem is still straight. Next, partially inflate the tyre and check that the bead is perfectly seated. It's possible that the bead can be seated either up or down too much. Inspect this bead seat line for any irregularities. Once the bead is perfectly seated, continue to add full air pressure. Once the tyre is at the correct pressure, refit the dust cap and it's ready to go back on the bike. To refit the back wheel, put it into place, align the sprocket on the back wheel with the chain, and then pull the derailleur back towards you. And guide the disc back into the disc brake assembly, and it should slot right in place. Final step is to just tighten the quick release lever by pushing it back down until it's firm. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more videos in the future.